Hey everyone, Gary with Tennessee Stands. I've got some really exciting news for parents and kids across the state of Tennessee, and it's a little bit of it's a little complicated as you look at the court order. But I'll go through this with you. But here's what I want to say right off the top: we won. We won. We won our argument against the schools here in Williamson County. The judge has ordered that school boards have no statutory authority, none, to issue mask mandates in our schools. So let's I know let's get excited. All right, cool. We did something. Something happened this year. Isn't that incredible? All right, so let's look at the order real quick. This was our case against Williamson County Schools. We filed lawsuit against Jason Golden, the superintendent, and the Williamson County School District. Now, I want to go through this because you're probably going to hear some conflicting information from those who like to put out headlines that are not true. So I'm going to take you all the way down to the bottom of this court order, and you can see in the final judgment, the court granted the state's motion for dismissal and dismissed our case. So at first glance, that may look like we lost, but you have to read the court order to understand why we won, because the court did three different things. One, it ruled on justiciability of the case and basically dismissed all of the plaintiffs from the case based on standing. That's an important distinction. So essentially, for whatever reason, which is common, the state files a motion to dismiss based on the fact that any of the parents that brought this issue before the court, that we didn't have a right to be there, that we weren't harmed, no one got arrested, no one got hurt, no one got fined. And so because of that, the court can rule that the plaintiffs don't have standing. And if there's no plaintiffs that have standing, then you don't have a justiciable case to be heard against the defendant. So that's part of the ruling, but you got to keep looking, because what this judge did was he broke the case down from a justiciability perspective based on standing, which we lost, but then he ruled on the school board's local authority to issue a face covering requirement. Now, here's where we won, and here's where you need to celebrate. Take your masks off. Tell your school boards that you're not complying, because here's the deal. The court recognizes right here from Article 9, Section 12 of the Tennessee Constitution that the school boards are given authority by the General Assembly. Our legislature makes the laws that the school boards must abide by. Further, in state statute 49-1-102, that the public education in this state, the system, shall be governed in accordance with the laws enacted by the General Assembly and under its policies and standards. So, in other words, if you want to give the school board a right to do something, then guess who has to do that? The legislature. The legislature has to give rights and powers and duties to the school board. All right, let's keep going. So we've acknowledged that. We're also talking about an opinion from 2018 from the Attorney General that talks about where school boards draw their authority. He goes on to talk about that the defendants, the school board, argued that, so they did make the argument, as you can see right here, that face covering requirements were given to them by the legislature. That was an argument. So that's an important distinction. The schools weren't necessarily arguing that they had the authority to issue mask mandates because of the emergency, because they knew they didn't. There's no executive order from the governor that ever gave school boards the authority to issue a mask mandate. He suggested that they do. But as he did with county mayors, he did not extend them the authority to do so. That's a clear distinction. So because of that, the school board had to rely on statutory authority, which we argued they did not have. And they have been making the claim, I know many of you have sent me the emails. They are making the claim that 49-2-203, this very, very broad statement. In fact, let me just read this. The most relevant provision of the statute governing local school boards in Tennessee is Tennessee Code annotated 49-2-203, letter A, subsection 2. It is the duty of the local school board, the local board of education, to manage and control all public schools established or that may be established under its jurisdiction. Defendants argue the legislature intentionally granted broad authority to local school boards and rely upon this general grant of discretionary authority to support their face covering requirements. So what school boards have been saying is because of this very broad and general statement that school boards can just do whatever they want to do as long as it's in the local school system. And what we've been saying is, well, if you look at the statute and you continue reading past that very broad statement, there's a whole litany of things now that the legislature has laid out that school boards can do, which are limiting factors in their authority. You have authority in local schools, yes, but then you can only do these things. And our contention has been that one of those things is not to regulate the health care of students. So let's go back and take a look now at the judge's final order on that particular motion. The court is not, oh boy, I'm so excited right now, I can hardly speak. I'm stumbling over my words. So let's try that again. Let's read this paragraph. The court is not convinced as a matter of law that Williamson County Board of Education acted within its statutory authority at the time it promulgated its face covering requirements. Further, the policy decisions promulgated by Mayor Anderson and Governor Lee in February 2021 and April 2021 are inconsistent with Williamson County Board of Education's continued enforcement of face covering requirements. In other words, the judge is saying here that in February, as our mask mandate lapsed here in Williamson County, and then in April, as the governor chose not to renew the county mayor's authority to issue mask mandates, the judge is saying, simply based on that, from an emergency perspective, the fact that the county does not have a mask mandate and the governor has removed their authority to do so is inconsistent with the school board's continuing authority to issue such a mandate. So I just want to make that clear. But then he says this: with respect to Williamson County Board of Education's authority to issue a face covering requirement, defendant's motion to dismiss or for summary judgment is alternatively denied, means they lose their argument. The court cannot find, as a matter of law, defendants have acted within the authority given to them by the legislature when enacting face covering requirements. We won. Parents, kids, we won. The judge has clearly said there is nothing to draw upon. There is no authority. I repeat, there is no authority in this entire state for school boards to draw upon from the legislature that gives them any authority whatsoever to require your kids to wear masks in school. Parents, for the love of God, please unmask your children. Thank you. Thank you for fighting with us. There's much more to come. There's some other court rulings we have to tell you about, but this one we just got in today, and we wanted to get this out as quickly as possible. God bless you. Thank you so much for following us and fighting with us.